Welcome back to Below Decks, everybody.
Hello.
I'm Tom.
I'm Joe.
And we are going to take you on a little adventure through American whiskeys this week. Once again, we are brought to you by River Pirate Spirits. Check us all out at riverpiratespirits.com. See what we're all about. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. All the links are on the website. And you can see recipes and ideas coming to you all the time. And if you're in the St. Louis area and you want a bigger experience into liquors and cocktails, check out riverpiratespirits.com and you'll see exactly what we can do in person. So, what are we doing this week?
We are going to do American whiskeys and bourbons and rye specifically.
Okay, so I know we always have, we're talking about American whiskeys.
Yes.
We know there's Scotch whiskeys, there's Irish whiskeys,
yes,
there's Japanese whiskeys, but America, we got our own whiskeys, right?
We are the best.
Yeah, and I will agree with that. I mean, there's some great Irish whiskeys out there, though.
There is.
I'm not a fan of Scotch, but I will admit there's some great Irish whiskeys. But I digress. American whiskeys, I am a patriot.
It's the start of
I love them, and that's what we're going through tonight. So, what we have here in American whiskeys, there's two main categories. Yes, you can get a lot deeper, so don't gig me on that in the comments. That the two main categories are bourbon and rye, and they are exactly what they sound like. Bourbon is what, Joe?
It has to be 51% corn. There's other things, but it's high corn.
Okay. So, and what does that high corn do to the spirit?
So, it makes it sweeter. First, let me get into what a mash bill is. A mash bill is the recipe that the distiller follows to make the whiskey. Mm-hmm. And when they follow this recipe, and there's an infinite number, each distiller has their own secrets, their own yeast. There's a million ways to do it. But this is just the main recipe that they'll share with you. Most of them. There's a few that try to hide it, but I don't know why. Okay. So, with American whiskey in general, you're going to have cereal grains that are going to be distilled and aged, so you can have a lot of malt in one, and you can have a lot of corn in one. It doesn't mean it's bourbon. All bourbon is whiskey, but
not all whiskey's bourbon.
Correct.
Okay, so bourbon, 51% corn in the mash bill, minimum.
Yes.
Now, a lot of them are a lot higher, though. And
yes.
The higher the corn content, the sweeter the whiskey's going to be. Okay, that's good to know.
That's one.
And then, what other grains do they put into the bourbon? Like what, rye, barley, just pretty much anything.
Yeah.
Wheat?
Yeah. If you throw wheat, you're going to get a sweet hay taste. A lot of people like when you go to the bar and you see the wall of it and you don't know what to do and you just say Maker's Mark. Well, that's because there's wheat in there and it's sweet. You know that you like sweet.
Okay. Yeah, and that's good. And then, so what about rye? What is rye whiskey?
So like almost like the bourbon, except the mash bill has 51% at least of rye.
Okay. So and
the rest can be corn and wheat and.
What's the difference between rye and corn in the flavor? Like we know corn makes it sweet.
Yes.
What does rye do to the flavor?
So when rye sits in a barrel and interacts with the wood, it's going to taste spicier, like baking spices, like cloves. Not
like cloves,
not like
and
Tabasco.
allspice and things like that. Okay, because so rye is to like whiskey, like what hops are to beer.
Yes.
Okay, so like hops are the spice of beer, gives it some flavor. Rye will do the same thing to whiskey without all those hop oils.
Correct.
Okay, and that makes a lot of sense. And then, but everyone's gonna want to know, since we're doing American whiskeys, that what else is out there? There's wheat whiskeys, which we said they're gonna have a different flavor, different mouthfeel. There's not a lot of just straight wheat whiskey. I know Woodford makes one, don't they?
Yeah, Woodford. Yeah, Woodford has a malted, which is
malted
pretty
wheat.
good.
Yeah, and that's really good. A lot of times they'll add wheat to get a mouthfeel. If you ever hear someone tell you that the whiskey had a velvety mouthfeel, that's generally because of wheat.
Yes,
and that going through there. So we really use a lot of oats in American whiskeys.
Yeah,
you could.
Yeah,
but I really don't see too much.
That's not a cereal grain that we like.
Going through. Everyone's going to ask, what is moonshine? Moonshine is not just unaged whiskey. That is what's called White Dog. It's just unaged whiskey straight out of the distill. Moonshine is untaxed whiskey. And that any really untaxed liquor. And it's made clandestine. It's illegal in 99% of the country. And technically, federally, it's illegal everywhere, but that every state has different laws. So when you walk into a liquor store and you got a bottle like this that's all clear and it says moonshine on it, It's not moonshine. It's just White Dog.
It's White Dog. It's the
And
unaged version of whatever else they sell.
Yeah. So, and sometimes if it can actually be a benefit. Like I know Buffalo Trace sells their White Dog.
Yes.
And then if you go and you buy a bottle of Buffalo Trace White Dog, now which I believe,
I have one,
yeah, he has a bottle over there. We can bring that. You have a bottle of Buffalo Trace White Dog and a bottle of Buffalo Trace. You can taste what the aging process does, because you can taste the White Dog.
Yes.
Just like we've taught you how to do. And if you have any questions about tasting, go back to episode number 1. Get a quick review. We'll try to mention some stuff, but we're not going to go in depth again. Taste the White Dog.
Yeah.
Then taste the Buffalo Trace next to it. And you can see exactly what aging does
Get the raw ingredients.
that does the whiskey. So, that being said, we're going to move forward. And that Joe talked about the mash bill, how that affects things. I talked to you about what American whiskeys are and how the differences in the mash bills affect that whiskey. So now we're going to get right into it.
Bourbon.
What we've got. Bourbon is first. So, Joe, what bourbon do we have?
We have Old Bardstown Bottled in Bond. I'm a big fan of bonded whiskeys.
Yeah, let's lift it up. So
you can only get this in Kentucky.
Huh?
You have to drive there. It's only $20 a bottle. Some websites say 35. I don't know why, but it's 25 at every liquor store. They have tons of it in Kentucky and nowhere else.
So, didn't we bought that one at the Willow Distillery, didn't we? Or did you buy that one?
No. I bought that at an ABV. So
ABV?
if you see ABC. If you see ABC, that is a government-run alcohol store. In any state, ABC, it's Alcoholic Beverage Commission.
Yeah.
And they will have MSRP prices. Whatever you want might be gone because it's only MSRP, but they can't charge you secondary market.
Okay, yeah, that's good to know, because the secondary market is stupid and horrible.
Yes.
And that it is causing problems in the whiskey world that people like.
To make this be called bourbon on the label, it's 51% corn at least. Also, it has to be distilled at no higher than 160 proof. If it's higher than that, you got vodka. So 160 or lower, and it has to be bottled between 80 and 125. If it's below 80, you have a liqueur.
But going in, that 125, that's the highest it can go into the barrel, right?
The barrel, yeah.
And that because if it goes in higher than 125, it's considered neutral spirit.
Yes.
And that 125. So a lot of distilleries will put it in at 120 just to be safe.
Correct.
And then they'll pull it out, and then they'll add
Sometimes they have to dilute
it.
water. Water's the only thing you can add.
Yeah, or they'll have a lower level of. I know I've seen some distilleries, they'll add before it goes in, they'll blend their different levels in, but those are usually smaller ones. The big ones are just bringing it all out at one thing.
Correct.
So, yeah. So
and then it has to be aged at least 2 years in a new charred oak barrel.
but this one's 4, isn't it?
Yes.
They don't tell you that on the website or at the distillery, but looking at that color, that's a nice deep color.
Nice deep color.
And that if you can get that color in 2 years, God bless you.
Yeah.
And that because you're doing something right. But I'm really excited to get into this bottle because it's going to have some really good flavor coming along. So I'm going to move this one out of the way because this is where we're going to next after we go through this. So we're going to talk about the tasting here on the bourbon. So as we said, Old Bardstown.
Great distillery.
Willet Distillery. Loved our tour of this place. That gorgeous grounds. They have a great little restaurant on site that you have to book your reservations to on a separate website. So don't forget that if you're going to go on a Kentucky bourbon trail.
Just show up and say I was on the tour.
Yep, can't just do that. And it's a lot of fun, gorgeous grounds. This was a unique tour too, because a lot of times when you go on a distillery or winery tour, you go on their tour, and then at the end you get a whole bunch of
you get a
tastings as it goes through. This one I loved because before we even started, they handed us a little tasting glass, and then they gave us a taste. We went into another room. They talked about stuff. They gave us another taste, and then you're
you drink.
You walk, you drink, you get to see things. Every so often throughout the tour, there'd be a little tasting room. Now you don't get to just get hammered, and that you get a 1 ounce pour or a half ounce pour, and that from a selection.
Yeah, pick two of these 5. The next one, pick 2 of these 3.
And it was fun. It was so much fun. It was really good time.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at this. Remember my little trick, guys, with the whiteboard. That getting your color in there. That you can't see it, so I'm there. I'm going to show that to you. I'm going to turn it around so I can see it.
Good dark color.
Yeah. Oh, it's a really dark color. It's
bonded,
almost like
so it was 4.
the inside of a milk dud.
Yes.
That's what I like the look of, or something the color of something I'd put on an ice cream sundae. And I see some. I know it's filtered. Oh, no, that's just my light. I thought I had some floaties in there. It's just the light reflecting out across the glass. So, on our nose here, what do we got?
All
Ooh,
right.
it's sweet.
It is very sweet.
So,
We have
I'm...
Twizzlers. Licorice. It's a licorice taste, but it's a sweet licorice.
Yeah, it's, you know what it reminds me of? Almost like a cognac. Like a sweet, like, grapey brandy.
Yeah.
That's where I'm getting in there. And it's not overpowering.
No.
It's very...
Should we talk about the origins of brandy?
Now
the origins of bourbon.
Yeah, I'll get into the.
All right,
we'll get into
we'll
that
do a history
later.
episode.
I'll do. Yeah, well, I can tell you that after we get through the tasting.
Okay.
Because it actually bourbon came from a shortage of brandy. And we'll get into that.
And I will tell you about why bottle and bond. What's that mean?
Well, we went into that in the first episode, and that what bottle and bond is. But remember, it's a mark of quality.
Correct.
You see bottled and bond on your bottle, you know you're going to get something that has been taken care of.
Yes.
Minimum 2 years, or no, that's minimum 4 years.
4 years for bonded.
Yeah, minimum.
It has to be 100 proof.
100 proof. And is this the one where it has, no, there's nothing about, it has to be one distillery, doesn't it?
Yes, it has to be one distillery in a single season.
Yes.
So your spring is January to May, and then June to December is your fall season. So when you look on the label, you'll see one of those two, and it goes into the barrel and then into a rick house, and the rick house is unadulterated. You cannot touch it. It's locked up, and there's 2 keys. Back in the day, one was held by the government bonding agent, and the other one was by the head distiller, and they had to both turn it to get in and see it. And then the bonus of being bonded, of going through all that trouble, was you didn't get taxed for the 4 years. Because when you have whiskey in the barrel, there's 53 gallons in a 55 gallon barrel, and they're paying taxes on all 53 gallons, even though it's in the rick house evaporating away.
Yeah, and then at the end of that 4 years, I mean, you could end up with like 50, anywhere from 45 to 50 gallons left in there. I mean, you're losing about 2% a year to the Angels. That's what we'll get into later on. The Angel share is
Angel share, Devil's Cut, all that.
It's in there. So back to the bourbon on the taste. What am I getting? I'm trying to figure out what I'm getting here.
Everything is a flash. This is as far as bondeds go, this is a young whiskey. So we got the sweetness. It's a little spicy, even though it's high corn. Sometimes they put some rye in there, and you can get that hint of spice.
Getting some cloves, maybe.
Yeah, and the distiller wants us to get Twizzler, but I'm just kind of getting licorice.
Yeah. So.
All right. So the taste. Switch it around. Well, that's fast. That's a hot.
Yeah, it's quick. It
punch
goes away.
in the mouth.
It's the finish is spicy, a little oaky, like dry. It dries out fast.
Yeah, it's gone. It's not this long finish.
It's almost like licking an oak cabinet.
Yes.
I mean, it really is.
We got the heat, the spice, and the oak.
Remember my trick from the last episode? Add just some
licorice.
Touch of water. Just to taste it, just to see what it does.
Don't dilute it. You just.
I'll tell you, it made that nose more astringent.
Yeah, it did.
There's a lot more alcohol coming out of that nose.
That's weird because normally you get more ingredient.
Yeah. It's sweeter.
Now I get the licorice.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I'm getting the licorice.
Yeah, it's a lot sweeter. It's like candy, like dried candies.
Maybe it's the power of suggestion. They told me I was supposed to taste it, but
I'm getting almost like a candied orange peel.
Yeah, I'm getting the orange.
Yeah, and that's like citrus notes, and that's what the water does. The water opens that up. We're not going to get that if otherwise.
Grandma's old candy bowl, but good. Except it's really good.
You grab one little piece, the whole thing comes out with you, and then ribbon candy. God, I hated that. So,
but man, that's a great take on it. For $20, I mean, I'll put this up against a $60, $70 bottle any day of the week.
That's good.
Any day of the week.
All right. Wash that out. So,
moving on.
We're going to move that on out of the way. You can use, when you're doing tastings and you're doing different things, different whiskeys. We didn't go over this last time. wash your glass out. Now get those oils out of there as best you can. And that in a perfect world, I would take a little dusting cloth that I have and wipe out the inside of that glass and get every little bit out of there. But you know what? We don't have time for that right now because I don't really think you guys want to sit here and watch me just clean a glass. So
if I had time, I wouldn't have done that.
Yeah. So, all right. Next, we're going to rye whiskeys. As we said, 51% rye minimum. This one's a lot higher. I am going to be a little bit of a nerd here, and I'm going to admit this is probably my favorite rye on the planet. I am a Sazerac nerd, simply because New Orleans is my second home, and the Sazerac is synonymous with the city, and I love this rye whiskey. So I'm going to let Joe talk a little more than I will because he's a lot less biased on this than I am.
I am.
And then I'll give a little bit of insights where I see. So and a little bit of expertise on this particular whiskey.
Yes. So
the Sazerac whiskey, the rye whiskey, was actually created in New Orleans because there was a shortage of brandy coming out of France. And they needed something to sell to the bars. So they came up with the Sazerac rye whiskey. Yeah, I like it. Let's get it pouring. This one is darker. You can see that dark color.
It is.
And that, there's no age statement on a Sazerac rye whiskey. But I will tell you, a lot of times you're going to find a 4 to 6 year old whiskey inside there. It's very good. It makes some of the best cocktails in the world. And that later on, when we do a show, I will teach you how to make my favorite cocktail, Sazerac, and it is a beautiful thing. So,
why is there no age statement on it? Because the bottled and bond straight whiskey has to have an age statement. If it's not straight whiskey, it's just American whiskey. It doesn't have to have the age statement. A lot of times it's blended.
Yes.
So if you say you did have straight whiskey that was blended, you can only put the youngest whiskey. If you blended a 6 year with a 3 year, the age statement will say 3 years.
Yep. And it doesn't matter if you put a 20-year whiskey in there. Like this hat, like you could have this bottle up to here as a 20-year whiskey and put it up to here as a 2. You can only call it straight whiskey.
Yes, you now have a straight whiskey.
Yeah, because it's just is what it is.
That's what the FDA says.
So, all right, so we're gonna go again. Swirl that around. This is a thinner whiskey.
Yeah, falls
and
right
that
off the glass.
especially for a rye. Ryes tend to have a lot of thickness to them.
Legs.
And that, a lot of legs, but this one is very thin, and that when it comes to that. The color, it's like honey. Look at that.
Yeah.
It's the color of honey when you get the light on there. That a lot lighter than that Bardstown. So that tells me it's probably significantly younger. That this may be probably 3 to 4 year, and that on this one, but they got the flavors they wanted, and they were able to blend it together.
Exactly. So
all right, so nose. What do we got here? Getting
orange.
Just citrus fruits, orange peel.
Yeah,
candied
and for a
orange
rye,
peel.
It should be burning my nose like with cloves and baking spices, but it's not.
It doesn't. Stone fruits like plums, peaches.
Apricots.
Yeah. You're gonna notice with ryes and high rye bourbons, there's a definite baking spice, spiciness to them. Like I say, whenever you get a rye, you're gonna have cloves, you're gonna have star anise, you're gonna have cardamom, you're gonna have allspice. Really, if you want to enhance your whiskey nosing abilities, get yourself a spice rack and just
that's a really good point.
Randomly just smell stuff.
Yeah,
and get that in your head and see where it goes, especially the baking spices. It'll enhance your ability to disseminate them.
Yeah.
Differentiate. So it's a very light.
It is. The palate's more of the nose for me. It didn't differentiate. I'm getting the stone fruits.
Yeah. There's a light char.
Yeah.
There's a very light char from the barrel.
It's sweet for a rye. Like
you wouldn't expect that.
No. I wouldn't.
So I really would. I mean, as much as I love this whiskey, I'm surprised I haven't looked into the mash bill.
Yeah, I know.
A little bit to see what's in there, but it's undisclosed. Like a lot of them do. They don't disclose their mash bill. So the finish is just straight rye spice.
Yeah, it absolutely
it's
is.
thin, yeah.
Yeah. It's not terribly long, but it's not gone right away. It's a good medium finish, I guess. You get rye spices.
Yeah. So, for me,
bit.
I am going to commit sacrilege, and I am going to drop a little water in there, even though I know what it's going to do to me.
Yeah.
So,
I predict
this,
it'll make it sweeter, but I'll be wrong.
there are ryes that you can drink that are great sippers, like bourbons. But I find ryes are great for mixing.
Yeah.
The sweetness and the spiciness play off of so many other ingredients. Later on, sometime we'll do a whole cocktail episode, and I'll teach you guys how to make a proper Manhattan. Rye whiskey is what belongs in the Manhattan. You will never believe. I mean, a lot of you guys will have a Manhattan with bourbon. Nothing wrong with that. But the flavors in a rye playing off the right vermouth is just beautiful.
And I do bourbon soaked cherries just to just to change it up.
Yeah, if you want to make, I mean, you can even make rye old fashions, and if you want to make a good whiskey cocktail, rye I think is the way to go.
Yeah.
So you know what, I'm going to try something I haven't done yet. Just inspired me. I'm going to do a rye ginger.
I like
See
it.
what happens, and that
it
may burn my mouth with the spiciness, but whiskey ginger, because those Irish whiskey gingers are some of the best things ever. That I'm gonna try a rye whiskey ginger, see what it does.
It just kind of killed the alcohol a little. I'm still tasting the same profile.
Stuff. Yeah. So, all right, guys. I hope you learned something tonight. We're going to enjoy some of our bottles that we brought in, and thank you for joining us.
Yes.
Nat, remember, follow us on social media. Check out our Facebook page. Check out the website. If you're in the St. Louis area, definitely check out our website.
Yes.
riverpiratespirits.com. We'll get in there, and until next time, welcome Below Decks.
Doing my best in town.